It's turning.
We are ready. No?
Yes,
We are ready.
why not? Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
Okay.
Bé, som a Dau al Sec, estem fent una transmissió en directe. Dau al Sec Arts Escèniques és un petit espai d'arts escèniques al Poble Sec i es diu Dau al Sec perquè, com podeu imaginar, és un petit homenatge al grup vanguardista plàstic que es deia Dau al Set. Aquí, com que estem al Poble Sec, hem posat aquest espai Dau al Sec. Avui és un dia especial a Dau al Sec perquè tenim la visita de Thomas Richards, que és un mestre, sobretot és un mestre, un savi i una persona que hi ha poques persones que queden que realment segueixen el seu instint en el món del teatre. Ell va treballar amb Grotowski. You were working with Grotowski?
Yes.
Very closely, molt a prop. How many years did you work with him?
13 years.
O sigui, 13 anys treballant al costat de Grotowski. Podeu imaginar quina... Bueno, ens pot explicar alguna cosa ell sobre alguns punts que sempre són... Ens preguntem sobre aquest punt. Why Grotowski left the theatre? So when he stopped, why he stopped doing theatre?
So, Grotowski, it's true that he did stop doing theater, but that's not really how he conceived of it. He was, I think, seeing his life as having different phases, but each one of these phases in one way or another did relate to theater. And what changed? We can ask ourselves what changed somehow. What changed was the relationship between the work and the actor and the work and the public. So in the theater phase of his work, or the first phase of his work, there was a kind of relation that we understand in theater of today. For example, there was a piece, there was a text, they worked on this text, they developed the text, there was an audience. This relation in his theater was poor theater. It was based upon a certain kind of approach that was revolutionary at the time. We were going to give up every kind of pretense that theater could be film. We're going to give up every kind of pretense that theater can be something spectacular, because we're going to go to the roots, which is the actor and the public. So then the question became somehow how a human being, how we as human beings can incarnate the most special, the most peak, the high moments of life, and how that can be then witnessed by someone. And this became sort of the pretext for his theater. Now, at a certain point, he posed himself a question. Do I need the audience anymore? Do we need the audience for this? He said to himself, at the height of his career as a director, at that point, no, I don't need the public anymore to continue this research on the human being. Isn't that strange, no? No more public. But they were doing what he called para-theater. What para-theater? Para-theater. Para-theater. What was para-theater? Para-theater was moments where somehow there was no more distinction between actor and public, where everybody became a participant in the event, and the point became how you and I can meet one another without our daily mask. Through what simple actions together, through what moments of play together we can do that help us to have an authentic, true meeting, human being to human being. Then he did another phase of his work, which was called theater of sources. You see, theater comes back. Para-theater, theater of sources. And here there's a misunderstanding, because people think that in theater of sources, Grotowski was looking for the source of theater. Not so much. He was looking for sources that exist in different cultures where performing is part of this culture, but the source is inside the human being, where performing is used as a means of touching certain sources inside you, inside me, We know that exists through dance. We know that exists in different cultures through song, for example. So he's looking for these sources where there could be a tool, a song, a dance, a way of moving that can affect the human being, right? To have a resonance, to impact on the human being. Then the last phase of his work was art as vehicle, art as a vehicle. We're still in performing arts. He never left theater. He left conventional theater. Where he continued this research, Mercé, he continued asking himself, a song, what effect can it have on the human being? What can it awaken in the human being? How can that become also a daily practice? And can that song be so objective, so much concrete, that it can work for you, who comes from this place, but also me, a kid who comes from New York, someone who comes from Japan, someone who comes from Korea, from Africa? Is there such a song that has such an objective quality that it can be eventually a transcultural tool? And this was experimented with me in my 13 years of work with him.
So he was choosing special songs
Yes.
from different cultures.
Yes.
And these songs are the same that you are using now?
Yes, some of them.
Some?
Yes.
And some new?
Some new, but some that we've been working on for 34 years now. Even today, Felipe was singing in the workshop with the participants one song that was one of the first songs that I learned 34 years ago with Grotowski.
And you discover more and more things? Or
Oh, yes.
It's, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Never ended.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
discoveries.
No, isn't it strange to say, yes, there's certain songs that we're singing for 34 years? It sounds very strange, right?
Yeah.
Right? Some
Well-
people would think that's really weird.
Yeah.
But strangely, in this kind of work, it's not at all. How to explain that, right? It'd be like someone who does The Merchant of Venice, and they do it again and again and again. There are actors who do that, you know.
Yeah.
And they do that with his classics for a reason. Because the first time is one thing, but the next time you're at another age. You're also at another point in the development of your craft. So there's another knowledge that you can apply face to Othello. Many actors, I know, they would like to do Othello 1, 2, 3 times,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah.
Now, with a song of tradition, the point becomes what? The point becomes, first, you need to know it like a certain kind of perfection. You need to know it like you can do it in your sleep. But then there's another question, which is your relation to the song, right? And what the song is doing to you. So the song becomes a vehicle, right? It becomes a vehicle for something. It awakens something in your being, right? It touches something in your heart. It touches something in your vital life, even your sensual life. And a kind of process of expansion can take place. A kind of opening of perception. Now, once that work starts, then you're faced with something that is a very long road. It's a road of a certain kind of development. The song is just the tool for it. So as long as the tool is still working, then the tool is a valuable instrument. It's like a surgeon, right? A surgeon, he has a scalpel, she has a scalpel. She knows how that scalpel is shaped. She knows what cut it will do. She knows what pressure to give. It's the same with such a song.
Yeah.
So you don't throw away the scalpel and then use a kitchen knife.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's true that if the scalpel is no longer what's needed, then you need a new song,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah. And you decided some years ago to come back to the, let's say, the more conventional presentation.
Yes.
So to work again with the public, the audience.
Yeah.
How was this change?
Well, it was a little strange because there was a part of the work with Grotowski that was very hermetic, meaning when I started to work with him, we created the first piece that we created and nobody saw it. It was only, we would act alone, it was a precise performative structure, nobody would be coming. After some months and months and months of work, Grotowski said, okay, Thomas, he said, Thomas and the team, tomorrow there will be one person coming to watch you while you work.
And you were the only one working with him?
No, it was me and 5 other actors.
5 other,
and we had a structure that we were doing every day as a kind of inner practice. No? It was very precise, more precise than a performance. And then one day a man came and sat there, and then he went away. Then 2 months later, Grotowski said, 3 people are coming. 3 people came and sit, and then they went away. And this process happened gradually when I was working with him, so that by the end of the 13 years,
People started to come.
Yes, but like by the time, toward the end, I knew that maybe 10 people would come, maybe 12 people would come, and I knew where they would be sitting, and I even created the action at that point so that it didn't have a dramaturgy like in a theater. It didn't have a story, but there was a place from which people could sit and they could see and somehow follow better what was going on. Mm-hmm. Okay, now why was it like that? Because it sounds really weird, no? It's strange. It was like that because he was looking for what he called objectivity of ritual. Ritual, the objectivity of ritual is not in the public. The objectivity of ritual is inside the doing person. So what is important? What's important is the quality of the doing people. Mm-hmm. So you concentrate on that, and then that ritual can be witnessed, right? There's no reason that it can't be seen. Someone can see it, but it's not for a public. Mm-hmm. It's
more like a religious thing. I mean, in the fact that there is one person who evokes
in some
prayer.
In some way, yes, because if we think about the root of the word religion, the root of the word religion is to relink, relegare. And inside this kind of practice, where objectivity of ritual takes place, there is a kind of relinking that happens. No? What is relinking? Okay, it's a very complex topic, but every human being, we're very small. Mm-hmm. We're made up of a mind, a heart, vitality, a sensuality. We're very, very small, but this small thing becomes very big. How much of my day is so big? Oh my God. My son, he didn't do his homework. It's so big. Oh my God, I didn't get the coffee that I wanted. It's so big. So our little world becomes very, very, very big. Mm. It becomes so big that we forget that we're little. Mm. And when we forget that we're little, we forget that we're inside something that's much bigger than our big, small world. Mm. So the objectivity of ritual relates to a relinking, where something in the ego of the man, of the human being, becomes somehow redimensioned, remembers its smallness. And in remembering its smallness, something can open, which is related to a very complex process that has to do with centers of energy that exist inside of you, that exist inside of me, that exist inside of all of us. And when these centers of energy and songs of tradition can be a way of awakening them, when they start to awaken, it's helping the human being to come into contact with an energetic world that is around us, that is very, very strong, very powerful, very big, because we are in a big, big world. You know, we're sitting on the earth. You know that underneath our feet is a magnetic core. This is something incredibly powerful. You know how fast the earth is spinning? This spinning top is moving around a sun that is moving even faster through the arm of the galaxy, inside a galaxy that's moving even faster towards another galaxy. We're inside of a washing machine, that's inside of a washing machine, that's inside of a washing machine, and we're completely blind to this somehow. We're made to be blind to it, but there's a part of us that is made to awaken face to this enormous wave that we're inside of. So, to go back to this question of religion or relinking, what is happening in this act is somehow the microcosmos of man, our small world, starts to meet the big world. And when that happens, a kind of relinking process happens. So that is what's at the key of this kind of work, right? Objectivity of ritual. Now, with Grotowski, then he started to invite some people, come see, now go away, and come see, now go away. Why was that going away important? The going away is important because in this kind of work, it's fundamental that you do what you do for yourself somehow, and for your colleagues, and for your teacher somehow. Why is that important? It's important because this kind of process, it's not about showing somebody, it's about living something. And we're human beings, and we always fall into the temptation of, oh, now I do for you, now I show for you, and everything is lost, right? So these moments of people coming was like a test, and then people going away, it's also like a test to remember, why do I do something? after some time, when we became a little bit more secure in that process, a little stronger in that process, then it was okay. 10 people could come, 15 people would come. But then Grotowski died. And then it was an interesting moment, because Grotowski dies, and then what do you do? What do you do? Because I'm not Grotowski. My colleagues are not Grotowski. Also, we had worked with Grotowski, not in the point when he was the famous director, but in the point when he had also said, I don't know if we can say this on the internet, but he'd say, fuck you. He said, to a certain extent, to theater. Or that was interpreted this way. A lot of people in theater, they reacted, but what are you doing? Why you go away? So somehow, also, me, I grew up inside of that Hermitage. Nobody knew me. So what do we do in that circumstance? Somehow, we need to recognize, number one, I'm not Grotowski, we're not Grotowski, so we can't pretend to do that road. Number two, we need to figure out what is our road. And somehow, to figure out a road, you need to figure out your family, right? You can't have a road without a family. You need to know what territory you belong to. So, do we belong, you use the word, it's a very powerful word, religion. Do we belong to a religion?
The same one or not?
No, we don't in some way, because everybody in the team, we're all coming from different religions. We all come from different cultures, so we don't belong to a religion. What do we all belong to? We belong to performing arts. Theater is our family. So somehow we're not gonna, we can't get beyond this fact that we've got to deal with theater. We will have to find a way to nourish and be nourished by theater. That's our way. That's our family. So from the moment that Grotowski died, but even before, because he was aware of this.
Yeah, at that moment.
Ah, yes, before he died. Several years before his death, we would many times speak about what he called the magnet. He said the magnet is what would, in his mind, what would pull me forward in the future. Like a magnet, no?
Oui.
A magnet, what draws you forward.
Yeah.
And he saw that theater was going to be my magnet. It was going to pull me forward. And it was going to be somehow on my shoulders, on our shoulders, to figure out how this work on objectivity of ritual can enter into different forms of theater. Meaning to accept what? That means to accept also that the objectivity of the performance is not only in the doer, but like in theater, the objectivity of performance is in the spectator. You create a film, for example. Film is a good example of that somehow. You make a montage. The montage is a dead thing. You put together a series of images that have meaning. Where does the objectivity of a film happen? It happens in the perception of the spectator. That's where it works or doesn't work. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of images that are put together. Boom, 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 boom. Theater, to a certain extent, is like that also. You create a journey in the perception of the spectator. In Artist's Vehicle, you create a journey in the perception of the doing person. Now, our task, which is quite complex, is to do both. Or try that.
So you mean now the creations you do have this sense? So
yes, they have
they
both these
didn't,
senses.
they are not far from what he and you were doing at that moment.
Right.
No?
Take, for example, the work we did with the students today. In the morning, we were working on Artist's Vehicle, basically. Meaning we brought them into a session of work on songs of tradition. So they're sort of diving into a very deep end. There's no dramaturgy, it's not theater per se. It's a bunch of people who are singing together and looking through the work on song, to awaken a certain specific kind of sensitivity for one another, and very, very special and deep moments were already appearing this morning. Then in the afternoon, we saw their acting proposals, which are based upon laws of acting, which have to do with what? Fundamentally, why you choose what you're doing, the theme, the execution or the development of that theme. Do you arrive that theme has an objectivity, meaning that it somehow has two arrows of direction, one that goes towards you, where you are somehow weighing that theme inside what you're doing, and then towards the public. Does it arrive to the public? Do the public understand it, etc., etc.? And then and we enter into the work on theater. So basically, even in the day-to-day, we see time is consecrated towards what is the essence of our work, and also consecrated towards craft, which are, if you come to see the Underground, which I hope you do, we're presenting it next week.
What's the name exactly?
The Underground, a response to Dostoevsky, which we'll perform here on Wednesday.
It will be
Wednesday and Thursday.
no
Tuesday,
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yes, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Next week.
If you come to see that, you will see these two aspects of our work flowing one into the other. Work on songs of tradition and also text-based work, which is very frontal and also has quite a theatrical nature.
And you come very often to Barcelona?
Yes.
How many
Because of you.
Yeah. Yeah, because I am still very in the dark. I still don't understand. I have to come and do one workshop with you to understand
fantastic.
it. Because I think that you, as a public or audience, you perceive those things. You feel that you are in a very special place that you don't find in other places. But the way that the actors are engaged to what they create is a very long journey, I think.
Yes.
Because you see a very rigorous craft. No?
Yes, yes. Oh, we work quite hard.
Yeah.
It's very rigorous. It's true.
It's a way that as a person that presents stays in the same place than the actors, you feel also that there is many things that you don't perceive completely, so that you would need to go back and go back just to get more than what you do.
Oh, that's fantastic.
No, it's not just I saw it, I know what they do.
Right.
That you feel they are doing something today was like this, but I would like to see how it would be tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you have the feeling that tomorrow will be different somehow.
Well, it's true that there's also a lot of people like you, meaning I do see people, a public who has that desire, who comes back again and again and looks to perceive somehow in a more refined way or deeper way what's going on, which has a kind of sense also. Why does it have a sense? One, because like in any living theater process, like you know as an actress, you need to every day fight for the life.
Yeah.
Right? You need to find the life.
You don't repeat.
You don't repeat. You repeat and don't repeat. This crazy paradox, right? Inside this work also, which involves objectivity of ritual, is the same kind of battle. How to work on a very high level, but also in terms of what you experience, and experience the same thing, but never let it be the same. And all the time meet it unknown, and all the time also go farther inside of it.
Yeah.
Also, you know, like, I don't know, now we do the Underground here, we'll present it this time. Maybe one time you'll invite us back, or we'll come back with the living room, which we presented in your theater, but a long time ago.
Long time ago.
And that we're still working on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and it's still growing. So it'd be very interesting for you to see it now after all these years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my first contact with the work center work.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that maybe there is anybody that can want to ask any question. No? Yeah? Sí? Maria?
I ask a question. Okay.
No, I don't know.
No, just thank you so much, Thomas, and thanks, Marcel, for having us here. No, it's just a kind of reflection question, Thomas, because this point of the ritual, of the living the spectatorship, or not to be depending of this spectatorship, you know. We start to work with Andrew 20 years ago with this medium that is video live stream. Is the name of the medium, of the technology, but I prefer to talk about medium than technology. I think it's a beautiful metaphor, this stream of consciousness that we used to talk, or this live stream, because it's live video on the internet. It's not theater, of course, because we cannot smell us, we cannot touch us, but it has a point of life. It has a point that connects with this change environment that is, and we told them about this new kind of logistic of the image, that is an image that is live, like now, and it's connected. So I was listening to you, and I was thinking that it's a kind of relation, and because you are live now. You are live. You work all your life. You have been working live. You are live on Twitter. We are live now on Twitter, twitter.com/livemedia. We are an association, cultural association, and we are fighters as much as Mercè or as much as you know, we are. But this point that suddenly it opens also a new dimension where the audience can be or cannot be, but we are producing something that, in some sense, like in theater, it exists at this moment. It's existing in the world. Yeah. It's existing in the world. So it's a kind of dimension. It exists. I don't know what it suggests you, or if you want to say something about that.
Oh, I don't know. It's truly a medium that I don't have much experience with. Of course, it's your expertise. There's something that strikes me, which is just how to say it. It's a little metaphorical, though, somehow. Because when you use the word warrior, and I believe you guys are fighters, I see that you're fighting for something, as Mercè also I feel, and I felt for years. There is this question somehow of, like in our work also, when we're working alone, who do I do for? Mm-hmm. Who am I acting for? Mm. And as you're speaking now, I perceive this question of the unknown public somehow. Maybe they're there, maybe they're not there. Mm. Or maybe one person is there. Or maybe two, or maybe nobody. That this can pose us, if we let it, this can pose an interesting question, which was for me the most interesting question when I started to work with Grotowski. Why do I do what I do? When we were alone in the room, singing, nobody's there. Oh my God, who am I singing for? So here we are. Exactly. Yeah.
He has a question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I would like to do like a pair of questions maybe.
Oh.
A preparative one. I haven't seen yet any of your performances, but I think you don't work with any object. Is that true? You work with empty space, totally empty?
No, not totally empty. You will see. I think we are very, how to say, we just use what's needed. So objects are generally in our pieces very, very limited.
Okay,
so
but
Being open to whatever you need.
Yeah. For example, I don't know. Now we're performing 5 performances. Not here. Now we're going to do 2 performances here. But in repertory, my teams are performing 5 performances, with a 6th and a 7th performance. 6 almost done, seventh on the way. Now, each one of these, in relation to objects, has a different phenomenon because of what's needed. For example, Sin Fronteras, which you saw also. It's many objects. There's even a TV. There's even a video. There's many objects. That was part of this creative process as that world appeared. In the underground response to Dostoevsky's, very few. I don't know. Very, very, very limited. Very limited. In the living room, I think it's nothing. But we are inside the situation. We're all inside of a living room, and there's many things inside. And we eat together. There's food. There's drink. So these are not objects, but they become objects. Even this was we did the living room here years ago. But this was the central. Yes, this was there. Yeah.
So what I mean is that you work with songs and you work with the performer's body, but how do you relate to the object, attending to the fact that the object can also stimulate and affect in a huge way the body and the voice and really the presence and the energy of the performer? How do you relate to that, or it is not a thing you work on?
That's an interesting question. One, because you use a phrase which does give me an opportunity to say something. You say the performer's body. Now this is a kind of misunderstanding about Grotowski's work. The misunderstanding generally is about the body. Everybody who imagines the cliché about Grotowski's work is that it's physical. Physical theater. He would even laugh about this with me. Old man, white beard, Thomas, everybody thinks that I did physical theater. I never did physical theater. If anything, his theater was really somehow of the soul. It was really about how, but the body is very important for the soul. The body is the house of the soul. So everything was, even very big attention was given to the body, how the body can become a kind of like a child. The child's body. When my child was born, Elliot, he's now 10 years old, but I remember the day he was born in the hospital. I brought my finger close to his feet. And when I got this far, of course the child can't see it at that point, the toes of his feet started to reach toward my finger. Wow, wow. There was such a sensitivity that he felt an object was approaching his toes, and the toes were like a hand, like this. It's this kind of body that Grotowski was always looking for in his actors. And so trainings were made, but not to make the athletic body, but to make the body ready for reaction. Now, you talk about, so it's not really physical theater, even though the body was deeply engaged somehow as a window of the soul. Now, objects. We do have limited use of objects, let's say, but no dogmatic rules. But that means something also. If we choose to use an object, there's probably a reason for it. And what you say is true, that an object can have a very deep relation to an individual. Like if you come to see the Underground, you will see me working with one object. There's one object I use. This object has a very long history. Yes, inside the play. It has a very long history. It's even in the living room. It's an object that was in the living room. It was even an invisible version of that object was in the action that I first created with Grotowski back in 1987. So this object, which is now a true object, which is in the Underground, I've been somehow working with and around for 34 years. So it really has a very, very deep, for me, somehow relation to the work, relation to my teacher, relation to what it is that I'm doing, meaning for me. But this should also translate performatively, meaning somehow it should have dramaturgical meaning, or it should somehow also have some kind of function inside what's happening. So you'll see other kind of objects, like that relate to character. You'll see a character who's dressed in a certain way. He has a cane, but this cane is for a reason. So, and it also will have an impact on him. But I think, having seen your work today, you didn't see his work today, but he's a young actor, and I saw his work today, and he is using objects.
It is based on the work of Richard Foreman and more or less Heiner Goebbels and those things that happened after Gertrude Stein, which really like to put into the scene in the same level of significance and importance, light, object, etc. And I am a real fan of Grotowski's work, but with the time I've come to realize maybe that he's perfect in the work with the performers, but why not go one step further and really try to integrate that into a, let's say, more completeness of languages, which is theater, which is sound, light, etc.
At the end of this workshop,
Yes.
that this
Okay,
question,
okay.
I think that it's very interesting to develop during the work.
Sure.
No?
Yeah.
And,
Okay,
and
okay.
maybe you will have answers, new answers. I think that we have to just to say goodbye to you, and we keep going. So thank you, Thomas, for your words.
And thank you, Mercedes.
Always,
you.
always very
Thank you.
interesting. So we hope that we will like your underground.
Oh, I hope so.
You will come. So here we are, and we wait for you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Thomas.